And welcome back into another edition of the Chris Mathis podcast. I'm your host, Chris Mathis, alongside in front of my brother, my co-host, Spencer Mathis, once more for another special edition of TCM Pod. And we're joined by transfer portal tight end Kyle Morlock here in just a moment. But first and foremost, want to shout out our sponsor for making this possible. Of course, that is Information on Demand. Information on Demand brings you each and every episode of TCM Pod, whether you need criminal background checks, drug screenings, E-Verify, academic accreditations, or other screening services. They've got you covered. It doesn't matter if you're in Florida like me or if you're in Colorado, in North Georgia, Western North Carolina, across the country. They've got you covered. My friends at Information on Demand will take care of you. You'll be able to rest easy knowing a highly trained search team will get you that information you need in just 8 hours or less. That's 8 hours or less. Information on Demand. They're fast. They're accurate. Affordable pre-employment background screening services. Give them a call today, 855-914-4636, or better yet, visit them at informationondemand.net, and they bring you another edition of the Chris Mathis podcast. Again, we are joined by transfer portal tight end Kyle Morlock, a guy that Spencer and I are both familiar with, went to Union County High School. Spence spoke to him a few weeks ago, maybe a little bit over a month ago, at a high school football game that Spencer was calling there for WJRB. But Spence, before we get things underway, how exciting is it to have a guy like Kyle hop on the pod and see a guy from our hometown have success and have a big opportunity at hand here in the coming weeks?
Yeah, it's always good to see someone from Union County with this much potential and just this many offers coming his way as it's gone on and as he's entered the transfer portal and whatever. But it's awesome to see a guy like Kyle Morlock get the opportunity, and I think he's going to strive.
Yeah, no doubt. Without further ado, we got Kyle Morlock joining us right now. I'm not sure. There's no telling where Kyle's at right now. The guy's got so many offers in the last not even a month, Kyle. So first and foremost, before we get things underway, how's everything going to you? How's your mental right now with all the chaos surrounding your career and what's to come in the coming months?
Yeah, my mental is definitely it's been wild to say the least. My mind's all over the place, just trying to figure things out and get through this process. But it's a good problem to have, and I'm definitely excited for the future and ready to get to a place and start, get back to work.
Yeah, no doubt. And you spent 3 years there at Shorter University. Talk about this final football season for you, a year in which you dominated. You really took over as you had done the past couple of years there at Shorter too. But in particular, knowing this was your last season there at Shorter, talk about your last year.
Right. Yeah. No, the last year was super cool. I made a lot of great friends there at Shorter, a lot of my best friends, and to be able to play a last season with them was super special. We got the first conference win in school history since they moved up to D2. So that was super special to do it with those guys. And overall, it was a good year. We play in a really tough conference, and to be able to get that first conference win for the school was super special. And, I was glad to be able to do it with a lot of my best friends.
Yeah, and you finished your career there, your 3-year stint there at Shorter University with just over 800 receiving yards, 11 touchdowns. The list goes on. And on top of that, a 3.9 GPA, two-time All-Gulf South Conference player, also a two-time All-American too. What does that stat line mean to you, and obviously your hard work that you've put into your craft and what you've made your life to be probably over the last 10 years or so since middle school football?
Right. Yeah. I would say going into it, when you start a season or something, you have those awards and stuff in the back of your mind, but it's not really about that. It's really, you're just trying to grind every week and do your best on the field. And then those just happen. And, they're definitely cool to have, and I'm super proud of them and everything. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to make plays for the team on the field. And then those are just bonuses at the end. So that's how I kind of feel about those for sure.
Yeah, and less than a month ago, you announced that you were entering the transfer portal. What made you decide that the time was now to enter the portal?
I kind of had an idea going in. I mean, I was about to enter actually the year before, and I got some advice from some people that had helped me through the high school process, and so I decided to stay another year. There's a few reasons I entered. It wasn't just football. My major was one reason, and a couple other reasons. But yeah, that's kind of what led me to, through this year, deciding at the end to finish this thing out and then enter the portal.
And what was that initial process like whenever you first entered the transfer portal?
Right. That's where it kind of got crazy. So I entered on a Tuesday, I want to believe. And that night, I think I got offered by Sam Houston State was my first offer. And then after that, I got offered by Tennessee. So, it went from, super exciting to insane really quick. It was, I got offered from them and then Tennessee. And then after that, it was just taking phone calls for a week straight. And then, the crazy kind of began. So.
Yeah, I can only imagine, Kyle. And if you see on the video right now, if you guys are watching on Spotify or YouTube, if Spencer or I wave, that means, hey, I'm going to ask that next question. So, Kyle, I want to feed off that a little bit. You can only kind of imagine or dream of how crazy that is, like your phone blowing up. What was it like when you first had a number that you didn't realize, was someone in your contacts and you're like, hey, what's this? What's going on?
Right. Yeah. It was insane to say the least. And just the way that it happened, just like after Tennessee offered, it was just like, I didn't have any idea who was going to hit me up. Most of this stuff happens through Twitter. So, you get hit up in your Twitter DMs and then they get your number and then it goes from there. And, like one second you're on the phone with this coach, the next second you're on the phone with that coach. And while it is insane, it's a dream come true. It definitely gets pretty tiring after a while. So, that was one part of it I've learned is like after a while, it's like, I got to put my phone down to eat or to sleep. And it's just like I got to give myself a little bit of time. But overall, it was a crazy experience for sure.
How did you orchestrate, publishing to Twitter those tweets, those photos, thanking the coaches, thanking the football programs, and obviously, number one, showing appreciation for what they did for you and their interest that they've shown in you, and number two, that obviously helps other schools and other coaches see, hey, you know what? Our rival is reaching out to this guy. Why can't we? So how did you kind of plan that to happen, and how are you staying on top of that?
Right. I would say the initial post was I just, I got in contact with some people I knew and they kind of told me the way I should really go about it, thanking the coaches, thanking the staff. And I left there on a really good note with the coaches and everything. So that was good. And then after that, I was just kind of posting, as stuff happened. It wasn't really a strategy behind it. It was just, I got an offer, I'd post it. And then I'm assuming that's how, the momentum started. And then it was kind of just up from there.
What was that first Friday like in which schools were able to visit you for the first time?
Yeah, that let's see. Would that have been last Friday? I can't remember.
I think no, it would have been the Friday before.
Okay, yeah. I was still at Shorter then because our semester hadn't ended. So that was crazy because I had a lot of coaches coming up to Rome to see me. And so it was probably 3 days straight that it was just like breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and in between, I ate a lot of food in that time, so that was good. But it got very tiring after a while, for sure.
And
but
generally
it was a good process.
Generally speaking, what are those conversations like whenever you're meeting with the coaches? Like, is there any bit of awkward tension whenever you first meet them? What do you talk about, like at the dinner table with the coaches? Do you run out of things to say, or do they fire away the questions, or are you firing away the questions?
I would say it's probably, obviously they're firing away a lot of questions, but it's a good amount of both. I wouldn't say it's awkward. I will say this though, between the amount of coaches I've got to sit down and meet, it's a lot of the exact same questions, and that gets a little annoying to answer after a while. It's how did you end up at Shorter? How's the process going? How do you feel about our school? It's a lot of the same questions. So I definitely got pretty good at answering those after a while.
What was the best meal that you were bought, over this last 3 weeks or so?
Let's see. There's actually a place in Rome called Doug's Deli. It's so a lot of they're coming to Rome, so they're not familiar with the area, a lot of the coaches. So I'm taking them out or telling them where to go as far as spots go. But yeah, there's a place called Doug's Deli. They serve it's kind of like an underground place in Rome. They serve a lot of good stuff there. So that's where I took a lot of coaches for sure.
All right, Doug's Deli just got a major plug there from transfer portal tight end Kyle Morlock, who played there at Shorter University. Now, is there something in particular that you look for in these coaches when you sit down with them? I know there's so much going on in your head and you're thinking, hey, I probably have an appointment in 30 minutes. I'm going to talk to this school tomorrow. I got this school I just spoke to yesterday. but generally speaking, is there something that you look for in a head coach just in his personality when you sit down with him at dinner or at breakfast or at lunch?
No, for sure. Yeah. And just seeing the amount of coaches, you see a lot of different personalities and just how they operate differently. But stuff I look for is just, for them to be honest and just be real with you up front, the way they want to use you, what it's going to be like coming into their school. And I think nowadays it's pretty easy to tell that with people. And so I think that's probably the main thing, is just being able to sit down with a coach and then being, straightforward, honest with you, and just telling you exactly how it is when you're going to get there. I think that's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, and I'm kind of feeding off of Spencer's question about, what you guys would talk about at breakfast, lunch, or dinner. But how would you have to sell to the coach? Like, hey, I'm your guy. Like, I am your guy while you're sitting there? Or is this, they know what they want to ask and you just be you and do you?
No, yeah, it's more of the latter. It's not really much of a sales pitch, because a lot of the coaches that were coming up to see me had already offered me, right? So they're not really trying to, or I'm not trying to sell to them much as they're trying to sell to me as far as that goes. So it's just trying to divvy between, different schools and trying to, weed this thing down to make a decision at the end of the day.
So we've had Patrick Johnson on the TCM podcast before, and we asked him a similar question with this whenever he was entering the NFL. But in the transfer portal, who are like some of your favorite coaches that you've talked to so far? And have you had like any interesting stories or interesting questions? Patrick Johnson had a couple of really weird questions that he shared with us. What's like the weirdest question and the coolest coach that you've spoken to, or some of the coolest coaches?
I'm trying to think weirdest question. I don't know if I've had a weirdest question. I think it's all been pretty basic stuff that, because they're just trying to, with the transfer portal, it's such a quick turnaround that they're just trying to get to know you as quick as possible and develop a relationship. Because it's not like a high school guy where they have months to get out there and, develop a relationship and get to know them. So with the transfer portal, it's really just like, it's like speed dating almost. They're just trying to like get in there, get out, and like, get a good relationship with you. So coolest coaches, Coach Norvell at Florida State, super cool guy. Coach Heupel at Tennessee, super cool guy. And the thing that I've found, talking with so many coaches is, you see these guys on TV and you see how they act, and like, when you get down in a room and just talk to them, one-on-one, they're just like anybody else, they're just super cool dudes. And they act like anybody else would.
Kyle, I got a question, and it's a personal one, man. I'm not sure if you're ready, but have you learned anything about yourself throughout this process that maybe you didn't realize that you were great at? Like, hey, I'm actually really good at this.
I would say probably like interview process wise, just describing kind of like my strengths and weaknesses with coaches. I would say I'm pretty good at just giving them a clear picture of what I need development with and what I already do well. Just having to answer that question so many times with different coaches, I think that's something that I'm probably pretty decent at now.
So you mentioned that football wasn't the only reason that you're transferring from Shorter. What does a university get with you as a student and then also as a teammate on the field?
For sure, yeah. So like I said, another reason that I transferred from Shorter is because I want to do something in engineering. So I'm a mathematics major right now at Shorter, and they don't have engineering. So I kind of knew while I was going there, eventually I was going to leave and go somewhere else to get my degree in engineering. I didn't know it was going to be like this, obviously. But so, yeah, that was part of the reason why I left. And as far as what teams are going to get in me as a player is I'm just going to put my head down and work, because at the end of the day, that's what I've had to do my whole life. And coming from D2 and I guess leveling up now a little bit up to a higher division, it's going to be the same thing. It's just going to be putting my head down and work and proving that I belong. And it's been really the same story for me my whole life.
Yeah, no doubt, Kyle. And we've seen it through and through since, announcing your middle school football games, JV football games there at Union County, then going into your high school career there too for the Panthers, and a phenomenal wide receiver, and now obviously converted to tight end. And I think that's where you get your speed from is truly your a wide receiver, growing up throughout your life, and then you just have to move to tight end and you're killing it. So I want to ask you this. You know what it takes in terms of a recipe for success and to follow your blueprint that you followed your whole life. Just work hard, keep it to the grindstone, keep grinding, work hard each and every day. What separates you from other tight ends that are in this transfer portal? Because I know there are hundreds out there.
Right.
At the end of the day, when you stack yourself up with any other tight end in the country, what separates you from the rest?
I think a combination of, starting out as a wide receiver my whole life through senior year of high school. I think my route running and my understanding of defenses and stuff was a huge plus going into college in the first place before I got to Shorter, and just, catching and route running and speed and pad level and all that kind of stuff. I think I had that part of the game down well. Obviously, going from wide receiver to tight end, the learning curve was blocking in the box. So that was the thing I needed help the most, and probably still need a little bit of development on, I would say. I think after a while, I had some good coaches at Shorter that guided me as far as that went. And obviously gaining weight and strength in the weight room has a lot to do with that. But just developing that way, technique-wise in the blocking game was the toughest part. Other than that, yeah, I think that's probably what separates me is a little bit from other guys, is that I kind of had that background as a wide receiver, and I was able to really refine my game well in that part, and then just add on the blocking part. I think is what kind of makes me pretty valuable.
Yeah, so I'm going to work off your answer of that last question, talking about blocking, but I'm add a little bit of spice to it. How important is blocking to you? And there's a guy that I know, if you know head coach Bruce Arians, he was the former Buccaneers head coach. He wouldn't draft Pat Freiermuth because he was quote unquote a little light in the ass, and he said the same thing about Kyle Pitts. So how important is blocking to you moving forward and heading in to your next team that you're going to be playing for?
Right. Yeah, for sure. I've been told by multiple coaches that the thing a lot of their offenses are missing are a guy that can do it all. And, I see with a lot of places, they have that fast guy at tight end that they can put in for the routes. But then when they want to run the ball, they need to sub someone in, to get the stuff done in the box. So I think being able to do all of it is what a lot of people are missing and really want in a tight end. And so I think, me developing in the run game, I think is what kind of, I guess going back to the last question, kind of what set me apart a little bit is that I can do it all. And at the end of the day, I went into Shorter maybe not being the best blocker, but I was a willing blocker. So I was willing to learn and get down there and at least try. And I think that's what kind of helped me the most, being able to get in there and get it done and develop from what I have from high school to where I'm at now.
So which NFL tight end, past or present, anybody, do you model your game after, or do you take like some things from a few of the tight ends like Gronkowski or just other tight ends that play not the same style as maybe an Antonio Gates or a guy that's in the NFL right now like Pat Freiermuth?
Right. Model my game after, I would say I watch a lot of Travis Kelce film. I like the way that he's incorporated in the pass game, and I just like the way that he plays. I would say, yeah, I find myself just, up at night on YouTube watching Kelce clips because I just like the way he plays, and he's a cool inspiration, a guy I like to watch. So I would say him probably.
I know that obviously you've had a lot of great coaches over the years, starting off with winning a lot of games in rec ball throughout your career, middle school, high school football, then of course there at Shorter University too. I know there's got to be a lot of coaches that come to mind. When you think of a couple of coaches that have really pushed you and really helped you out in your career, who would you say those coaches are, and who would you say has been the most influential throughout your entire process?
Right. I think a lot of y'all know where I'm going to go with this question, but
I don't know, man.
yeah. Paul McBride for sure. He's from high school, and even now, like in high school, he was the guy I would say that developed me the most. He was always there trying to push me and coming up with anything that he could to help me. And then going into the recruitment process out of high school, he was the main guy that was there for me. He was taking me to camps, taking me to visits, all that kind of stuff. In college, Coach Morrison at Shorter, he was a huge help to me, and Coach Robles, the over at Shorter also. I would say to both of them, Coach Robles more in the pass game would help me as far as refining my routes and the way I ran. And then Coach Morrison helped me a lot in the run game because he was a previous O-lineman. So I would say the combination of them two were major in helping me develop. And then even now in the process, as I'm looking at schools, as I'm transferring, Paul's been there through this entire thing. He's been down to Florida State with me on a visit. He's was just at my house for an in-home visit earlier today, actually. So he's been there through since the beginning, and he's been a major help, and I can't thank him enough for everything that he's done.
Yeah, no doubt. He's one of those guys that he's had a lot of success as a dad, as a husband, and of course in his career too. One of the brightest guys that I know, and he's always willing to lend somebody the shirt off of his back if he needs to. When I would go see Joe Mancuso play college ball at Richmond, it was Paul calling me up, "Hey man, I'm going. I got a ticket. Come with me." And I'd be like, "All right, cool." So he would always go out of his way and is always willing to help out. And to see him help you along your way and throughout your career has been impressive. And I think he did something about a spreadsheet too to help you out with your talk about the spreadsheet without giving away too much, but talk about the spreadsheet that Paul McBride made and try to help you along this process of finding your next school, your next opportunity.
Right, yeah. So whenever it started getting out of hand as far as offers and stuff, he made a spreadsheet for me. It was just like an Excel sheet, and it's got the schools on there. He broke down like what type of offense they run, how they use their tight end, the amount of catches their tight ends had that season, yards, touchdowns, all that. And then it also has on there like if the school has the major I'm looking for and everything. So it was a real super helpful thing to just like be able to look at all the schools and go down the list and just see how they use their tight end, how much they used them the past season, and then also on the academic side, seeing if they had my major as well.
All right, Kyle, I got 2 or 3 more questions right here, and then I know Spencer's got another one he's ready to fire away. But obviously coming up with things on the fly here, how would you compare yourself now as a man compared to growing up? Because I know growing up and, of course, throughout your high school football career, you were always a humbled guy, a great teammate, a team-first guy. How would you say you're differ, or how would you say you're similar to where you're at now and where you were back then?
Right. I think I'm a lot of the exact same as I was in high school. I don't think a lot's changed as far as that went. I'm still, at the end of the day, I'm looking for the best school fit for me, but I'm also looking for a good culture. Like, that's one of the main things I'm looking for in a school is like going there and seeing the guys hanging out and seeing the culture and just seeing how they all kind of mesh together. And I think that's a lot of the same as what, from high school as stuff that I look for coming out of high school. I would say the only difference is I've gotten a little bit bigger, hit the weight room a little bit more, finally. And I think as far as differences, that's probably the only thing that I've really focused on.
Yeah, 6'7", 250, a fast tight end too, Kyle. Talk about the support that you've gotten, of course, from friends from maybe childhood or people in the small town community of Blairsville, your parents, and of course, former coaches, current coaches, teammates. Talk about that support and knowing that you have people to help you along in tough times like this. Not tough times in terms of not having a great opportunity, but tough times of something new that you've never had to deal with before that almost seems unreal. Like, well, I'm getting this many offers. What's next? How do I get here on time? How do I talk to this coach and make sure I still follow up with the coach tomorrow?
Right. Yeah. No, it has been super cool just from people reaching out, just saying congratulations. It's just been insane to see just different people around the community that maybe I hadn't spoken to in a while or just catching up with, but just everybody coming out and saying congrats and that they're happy for me. And then, yeah, just it's been really surreal to see that. And then as far as people helping me, like I said, Paul and my whole family has really helped me stay on top of things and have been there for me to not only help me end up making a decision, but get to where I'm at right now. I mean, since high school, since growing up, driving me all different places to play the game that I love, and it's been a super cool process to see everybody come out and just congratulate and be happy for me, and yeah, that's been a really cool thing to see.
So you earlier compared entering the transfer portal to speed dating. So I've got a hard-hitting question for you right here. How far along in the decision-making process do you feel like you are in right now at this current moment?
Yeah, I would say I'm getting pretty near to a decision because I want to be somewhere in the spring. So I'm not waiting for the next fall semester. So this coming up semester, I'm planning to be somewhere, wherever that ends up being. But I would say I'm getting pretty near to a decision for sure.
All right, cool, man. Spence, you got another one?
You go. You fire away.
All right. Okay. All right. I think it was your question, Spencer. I'll let you ask the final one. So what's been the biggest challenge for you throughout this entire process? And what's been the biggest, I guess you could say, perk throughout this process as well?
Biggest challenge I would say is is narrowing the thing down and telling people no, right? I think I think whenever a small town guy like myself gets to talk on the phone with these kind of programs, it's just so surreal and cool to see. But at the end of the day, I've got to be efficient and make a decision, and I don't want to waste their time either. So I'd say the biggest challenge would be telling people no, and just being like, it's not the right fit for me, which I don't like doing, but I have to do it at the end of the day. The biggest perk is definitely getting to meet all these different people. I think it's having their contact and just being able to meet them face to face and just getting to know them a little better. I would say that's the biggest perk.
Yeah, so I'm going to hit you with one more hard-hitting question, a very tough question. Like you said, you're entering the transfer portal, not just for school, not just for football. You're doing it for both at the same time. So what are your top 5 schools overall right now?
Mm, that's a tough one, Spence. Um, let's see. I'd probably go Florida State, Auburn, Tennessee. Um, hmm. Let's just go with those three for now.
Is that in order of preference?
No, 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 no,
No
You
particular
can't say
order.
that. You can't say the preference right
no.
now.
Okay. All right. Those are the top 3. That's incredible, man. Yeah, no doubt. All right, Kyle, we'll wrap it up with a couple of more things. So obviously you came from a small town like Spencer did, like I did, Blairsville, Georgia. That's where you grew up. What would you say to anybody out there, not just in Blairsville, but anybody in a small town or in an area that goes under the radar in terms of high school sports or guys trying to get to that next level? You started off D2, and here you are with a shot to play Division I college football. What's your advice to anybody out there wanting to play sports, whether they're in primary school, whether they're in high school, getting ready to hopefully go play college ball? What's your ultimate line or recommendation that you would give to these guys? Hey, you can do it.
Right. I would say, like I said earlier, is just keep your head down and keep grinding. I said, I didn't go Division I out of high school, so just being, and I don't think I should have. At the end of the day, I think I was underdeveloped, and I don't think I was ready for that. But I think now, seeing keeping my head down and just keep grinding away and keep putting in the work. I think eventually, something that I've seen at this level is if you're ready for that, they will find you. I think with the way social media is today and the way stuff gets around, I don't think a lot of people go unnoticed whenever they're ready to play at this level. So I think the one thing I would say is just keep your head down and keep grinding, because maybe you do go D2 out of high school like I did, but you never know what could happen if you just keep going for it.
Kyle, final thing for you here, and then we'll close out another edition to Talk to Him Tuesday with a great guest. This time it's Kyle Morlock, a guy we went to high school with, a guy we called his football games in high school at Union County, and a guy that's doing great things in what's to come. Kyle Morlock, I want to also touch up on the importance of social media for a guy like you. I know a lot of guys don't necessarily have social media that want to go play at the next level. They're maybe too shy to publish their highlights from high school, or they're too lazy. At the end of the day, how key is it to have social media, and how key is it to make sure that you're promoting yourself on social media?
It's extremely important, to say the least. I would say it's the main way that coaches find you, right? So having I would say Twitter's the main thing. That's what it seems like all the coaches, go to, and that's how they contact people. So having your highlights up to date and on there is extremely important if you're looking to go play at the next level. And at the end of the day, that's how they find you. So I would say it's an essential thing to have.
Awesome stuff, Kyle. I appreciate your time. Spence, I don't know if you have any more questions. If you do, fire off a few more if you do.
Okay, well, you talked about Twitter being the main method for these coaches to hit you up. Have you been hit up on Snapchat or Instagram or any of the other following ones to go along with that?
I don't know about hit up. I've been followed by a couple coaches on Instagram, and I have a couple on Snapchat. So I think this is after they hit me up on Twitter, but I definitely, they have those platforms also. So they try to utilize what they can for sure.
Okay,
All right, awesome stuff. That is Kyle Morlock, a guy who's getting ready to play Division I college football, a guy that I'm excited for, I'm proud of. And, I said it in a video I published to Twitter a few weeks ago. Kyle Morlock, a man among boys, and that was back, 3-4 years ago. And now he's 6'7", 250. Got so many accolades, almost 900 receiving yards in college football throughout 3 years. He's a 2-time All-American, 2-time All-Gulf South Conference player as well. 11 career touchdowns. Can't wait to follow you along the way. And I know you got another question, Spence?
No, I wanted to add that he's got a 3.9 GPA. I don't do anything outside of school really, and my GPA is only 3.4. So you're killing it on and off the field.
I appreciate it.
All right, that is Kyle Morlock. Thanks for your time, brother. We appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.